Is it right to blame one's own sin on God? Well, some people did. In this video, we'll take a look at 10 people who did terrible things because God told them to. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you receive updates about new videos. Now, let's get started. Number 10. Bernard of Clairvaux. Saint Bernard, 1090 to 1153, was not a bigot, but his sermons about the need for a second crusade led to a lot of people being killed. In the Holy Land, the First Crusade, 1096 to 1099, founded Christian nations. On the other hand, the Seljuk Turks were making gains in Christian territory in the 1140s. In 1144, Pope Eugene III called for the Second Crusade and asked Bernard of Clairvaux to help. Bernard was a charismatic preacher who traveled across France and Germany. The Pope assured the Crusaders that they would reach grace and that God would forgive all of their prior sins as an encouragement. Bernard's sermon was so effective that men abandoned whole communities. Both the highborn and the lowborn excitedly joined up. To train their marital techniques, some Crusaders began massacring European Jews. Bernard preached against it, but it didn't seem to work. The Second Crusade accomplished nothing in the Holy Land other than the deaths of innocent civilians. Bernard was given the moniker Saint Bernard not long after he died. Number 9. David Shayler. David Shayler, a former MI5 operative, severed ties with the organization and leaked claims to the press in 1997 that it was conducting unwarranted investigations into socialist politicians. After being charged under the Official Secrets Act of 1989, he became a vocal member of organizations such as the 9/11 Truth Movement, a fan of David Icke, and took a hardline anti-Zionist stance. Shayler began claiming to be the Messiah Jesus Christ and the keeper of the secret of eternal life in the late 2000s. Shayler, unlike the traditional Jesus, spends some of his time as Dolores Kane, a woman who squats in a 17th century farmhouse. Number 8. Pastor Enoch Adeboye. Pastor Adeboye is the revered general overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God in Nigeria. People pay attention to what he says. Concerned about the coronavirus's impact on Nigerians, the pastor had a conversation with God about it. God assured him that the virus would only kill those who were already going to die. Adeboye even stated that snake bites killed as many people in his country as the virus did. While the pastor advised people to be cautious and take precautions against the virus, his congregation, and the general public, could easily interpret his message as implying that there was little they could do about it. Their fate would be decided by God. Number 7. Jim Jones. Jim Jones was the founder of the People's Temple, which was founded in Indianapolis and later relocated to Jonestown, Guyana. He was the architect of the largest mass suicide in American history. Jones, claiming to be Jesus and others, preached racial equality, socialist and communist ideals, but allegations of human rights violations led to an investigation by U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan in 1978. Jones launched an attack on Ryan and some of his party after allowing Ryan to free people who claimed to be held in Jonestown against their will. Jones then used cyanide poisoning to commit mass suicide on himself and his followers as a result of this. Number 6. Travis Reinking. Travis Reinking walked into a Waffle House in Tennessee in April 2015 wearing nothing but a green jacket. He was, however, armed with an AR-15 assault rifle. He used the gun to kill 4 people before someone wrestled it away from him. Reinking fled and hid in the woods until he was apprehended by authorities 2 days later. Reinking believed that his 4 victims were government agents who had been ordered to be killed by God. Travis was initially determined to be suffering from severe schizophrenia and was unable to stand trial. After they changed their minds, Travis was found guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder. Number 5. Dena Schlosser. The mother claims that God told her to cut the baby. A state psychiatrist testified that a woman accused of killing her 10-month-old daughter believed God was commanding her to cut off the baby's arms and limbs. Dena Schlosser mistook a TV news story about a boy being mauled by a lion for a sign of the apocalypse, causing her to sever her baby's arms, according to David Self. She felt she was commanded, in essence, to cut Maggie's arms and legs off, and in some way to give them to God, said Self, who evaluated Schlosser in the months following her arrest. Schlosser was discovered covered in blood in her living room, still holding a knife and listening to a hymn. She'd cut a deep cut into her shoulder and severed her baby's arms. Schlosser, 37, has pleaded not guilty to the murder of Margaret, also known as Maggie, due to profanity, and her attorneys are attempting to prove that she did not know right from wrong when she was killed. Number 4. Deanna LaJune Laney. The Laneys' 5-member family was thought to be stable and loving by their New Chapel Hill, Texas neighbors. Deanna and her husband's 3 sons were Joshua, 8, Luke, 6, and Aaron, who was 14 months old in May 2003. Deanna smashed the heads of the 2 oldest boys with a rock one night while her husband was sleeping, killing them both. She then calmly dialed 911 to report what she had done to the authorities. Aaron was severely injured in his crib when police arrived. Deanna was nowhere to be found, but she was still on the phone. Her clothes were covered in blood when police discovered her in the nearby woods. Deanna had told her church members a year before that God had told her that the world was coming to an end and that she needed to get her affairs in order. Her justification for the murders was that she had been told to do so by God. According to mental health experts, Deanna had psychotic delusions and would not have known right from wrong when she killed her sons. Because of her insanity, the court found her not guilty. Her commitment to Clairvaux State Hospital was ordered by the authorities. Aaron survived despite being critically injured. Number 3. Elizabeth Smart. Elizabeth Smart was kidnapped from her home by Brian David Mitchell and Wanda Barzee on June 5, 2002, while she was sleeping. Mitchell and Barzee believed that Mitchell was an angel who had been sent to Earth to fight the Antichrist. Mitchell needed virgin brides to do this properly, and Smart was to be the first of many. Smart was raped multiple times, shackled to a tree, starved, and given a new name, Esther, during her captivity. All of this was done in the name of God. Mitchell even changed his name to Emmanuel, donned robes, and grew a long beard to imitate Jesus Christ. Smart was thankfully rescued on March 13, 2003. Mitchell was examined by doctors once he was in custody to determine his mental capacity to stand trial. Even though doctors believed he was unfit, the courts overruled them and the case went to trial. Mitchell was given 2 life sentences, while Barzee was given a 15-year sentence but only served 9 of them. Prosecutors argued that Schlosser knew what she was doing and should be sentenced to life in prison, even though they are not seeking the death penalty. Barzee would be hospitalized if she was found not guilty. Number 2. Nikko Jenkins. Jenkins had been imprisoned for more than 10 years for carjacking when he was finally released. When he shot and killed 4 people in Omaha, Nebraska over 10 days in August 2013, he was only 26 and hadn't been out much. He was arrested at the end of the month on an unrelated charge of making terrorist threats. In a rambling, often incoherent interview while in custody, he freely confessed to the killings. The Egyptian serpent god, Apophis, was responsible for the murders. Jenkins had been tortured by Apophis until he had done what Apophis desired, killed. Nebraska, according to Jenkins, bears some of the blame. He claimed that the state had released him too soon from prison and that the authorities had failed to adequately treat his mental health issues. His wife agreed with him. She stated that he was not ready to be released. Jenkins was so confident in his argument that he filed a $24.5 million lawsuit against the state of Nebraska. The claim failed to gain traction. Jenkins pleaded no contest to first-degree murder charges. He mutilated himself in various ways in his cell. He carved the number 666 on his forehead, for example. Because he was using a mirror, the numbers came out as upside-down 9s. Jenkins is about to be put to death. Number 1. LeRoya Moore. There are parallels between LeRoya's situation and Deanna's described above. Not the least of these were the deaths of 2 young children. The main difference is that LeRoya was convicted of 2 murders and sentenced to 60 years in jail for each of them by a court. The sentences were supposed to be served in order. Antihistamine toxicity killed LeRoya's 6-year-old daughter Alicia and her 7-year-old son Aaron, according to autopsies. LeRoya, on the other hand, told a different narrative. She said that God had instructed her to kill the children, who had drowned while she was attempting to baptize them. Before the cops arrived, she lingered with the bodies for 3 days. She claimed to have rescued the children from the police. Her lawyers attempted to employ an insanity defense, citing a Yale University psychiatrist's diagnosis of schizoaffective disorder in LeRoya. The plea was turned down by the court. This video has come to an end. Which was your favorite from the list? Make sure to drop a note for us in the comments so we can continue making the videos you are most interested in. Like and subscribe so you never miss a video. Until next time.